Jesus walked over and got in the boat with the disciples. It's interesting that he didn't stop this storm. He didn't speak to the winds and the waves like he did another time. He didn't say, "Peace, be still," and everything calmed down. This storm had to run its course. The disciples were headed toward Bethsaida, but the winds were so strong it blew them to another city. Verse 53 says, when they arrived in Gennesaret on the other side of the lake. It wasn't a mistake that the winds blew them somewhere else. Bethsaida was called a desert place. It was barren land that wasn't desirable, wasn't fertile. But the storm blew them to Gennesaret. It was called a garden of abundance. It was a flourishing place, a paradise, the most beautiful area in Galilee. When they arrived, people, of course, recognized Jesus, and they began to bring the sick to him from all over the villages and surrounding cities. They laid them on the sidewalks and in the marketplace. Jesus went through and healed them all. The disciples were disappointed they had to leave the place where they saw Jesus multiply the food. They saw that great miracle. They didn't realize the reason Jesus forced them into the boat, had them cross the lake and even go through a storm, was so they could come to the land of miracles. Not just one blessing, but an abundance of blessings. They thought they were going to Bethsaida, a barren place. But notice what the storm did. It blew them to a place of abundance. If the storm is not stopping in your life, then it hasn't fulfilled its purpose. You have to trust that God is in control, that He has your best interest at heart, and that those winds are not going to blow you to Bethsaida, to a barren place. They're going to blow you to Gennesaret, an abundant place. The storm is a setup. The closed door, the delay, the person that walked away, it's moving you into something greater. Now the enemy will whisper, "No, man, you were blessed, but look at you now. You got forced into this storm. You're headed to a barren place, defeated, broke, lonely, overwhelmed." Don't believe those lies. He wouldn't be telling you that if he didn't know you were headed to Gennesaret. You wouldn't be in that storm if you weren't headed to something greater. You're going to come out to an abundant place. Great favor, great health, great resources, not just blessed, but an abundance of blessings. Something you could have never seen without being forced into the boat, leaving the comfortable place, going through the storm. The psalmist said, we went through the fire, through the flood, to a place of great abundance. You won't see the great abundance without going through some fires, through some floods, through some storms. It's tempting to get discouraged. Man said to me last week, "Joel, I was loyal to my company. For over 30 years, I gave them my best, but they weren't loyal to me. When times got tough, they let me go." That's not a surprise to God. That's a sign that He's up to something. You got pushed out into the boat. Looks like your boss is in control. The truth is, he's a pawn in the hands of God. Nothing happens without God's permission. But it takes maturity to not get bitter. Man, why'd they treat me badly? Why'd I come down with this illness? Why did I lose that contract? What if you knew that had to happen so you could get to Gennesaret, a place of abundance? That the storm wasn't random, it was necessary. That the trouble was transportation. That it was moving you into the fullness of what God has in store. And sure, you may go through the fire, through the flood, through the famine, but there's one more F that's coming, and that's favor. The favor of God is going to defeat enemies you couldn't defeat. The favor of God is going to open doors you couldn't open. The favor of God is going to cause you to come through the storm to a place of great abundance. My friend, Coach Tony Dungy, played professional football for many years. And after a successful career, in 1996, he landed his first job as a head coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He knew it was the hand of God opening the door, a dream come true. For 6 years, everything was going great. They were winning more games, making more progress, and he was feeling good about the future. Out of nowhere, he was let go. They fired him. He thought, "God, I know you gave me this job. I know you opened this door and I was doing my best. I don't understand why this happened. But God never closes a door unless He's going to open a bigger and better door. It may not make sense at the time. We can't see what God's up to. This is when you have to trust Him. Like the disciples, we think, God, we don't want to get in the boat and cross the lake. We want to stay here where you blessed us. What God has in store is something greater than what you have in mind. You may have seen a blessing, but He's taken you to Gennesaret, a place of abundant blessings. And of course, Coach Dungy was disappointed, but he didn't go around discouraged, sour. He knew the same God that opened the door, closed the door. And the scripture talks about how God is our doorkeeper. He's in control of the doors in our life. We celebrate when He opens doors and brings opportunity, but in order to move us into something greater, sometimes He has to close a door. If you don't realize that God is your doorkeeper, if you don't trust Him with your open and closed doors, then you'll be frustrated when plans don't work out, upset when He tells you to get in the boat, or bitter over that person that walked away. I used to just thank God for my open doors, but now I've learned to thank Him for my closed door. God closing a door is not only protecting you, but it's setting you up for something greater. Not long after Coach Dungy was let go, he received a phone call from the Indianapolis Colts football team asking if he'd be interested in their head coaching job. He got the position, and 3 years later, they won the Super Bowl. He told me if I had not gotten fired, I would have never won it. What you could be upset about, the door that closed, the person that did you wrong, the trouble in your family, it's a setup. God wouldn't have allowed it if it wasn't taking you to a new level of your destiny. That storm is blowing you from a place of blessing to an abundance of blessings. The disciples were excited over Jesus multiplying the food, that one miracle, but the storm took them to where they saw many miracles. Don't fight the closed doors, the delays, the detours. The storm feels like it's taking you to Bethsaida, a barren place, a dry place, a lonely place, but God controls the winds. You can't see it right now, but they're blowing you to an abundant place, a land of healing, a land of miracles, a land of favor.